So now I'll do one more.
Yes. The differences in communication style.
We could use our outtakes. We need like the beef sensor, thing.
Yeah.
All right. Was that a good enough spike? Is that?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's not as good as yours.
Splitting. I need to feel my eardrums vibrate.
Come here.
Right.
Well, welcome back. Episode 8, The Regular Dad. Episode entitled, Roll with the Punches. We are not going to fight with one another today.
Yet.
And when is the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight coming up?
There's something...
This is how you know you're a regular dad because, this is new information.
I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah. So
how old is Mike Tyson?
Yes. Sorry.
I really liked him in The Hangover.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he did a good job with that movie.
Yeah. So,
was he in the second one? I don't remember much about the second one.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hangover.
Anyways,
so,
yeah.
All right, so rolling with the punches. There is a difference in life. This is one of the things that actually goes back to episodes 5 and 6. One of the takeaways that I have as I've navigated and, worked out of a long stint of depression in my own life. But there's a difference between being in control and being controlling. Now, this sounds like semantics and different things. It could be, and the meanings are overlapping, but I'll try to position it. I
feel like in the context, it's hard to be the same thing.
Well, being in control, you're a controlling individual. So hold on.
No.
So understand. Now, I like to be in control to the degree that I will try to control. If I can control it, then I don't feel as vulnerable. Okay.
Right.
Now, there's a book, Crouch, Andy Crouch, Strong and Weak. All right. Life-changing book, very short book. You get it, you're like, how does this book change your life? Get the book. All right. Strong and Weak. But it talks about the overarching theme is we try to make ourselves safe and limit vulnerability at all costs.
Right.
That's very, very unhealthy way to live. Vulnerability breeds authenticity. It helps you be more relational. It just makes you be a human and not a robot.
Right. It's not weakness.
No.
It's just
CEOs, the common personality traits, very, very strong personality, very strong leadership. Okay. Zero vulnerability. Okay. The old GE CEO, Jack Welch, that brought them back from the brink of bankruptcy and made them one of the largest, most successful companies. I mean, it's a machine.
Right.
And so many things are still tied to things that he put into motion when he was there. The guy couldn't spell vulnerability, if you pick it apart, right? So, but we'll all find ourselves in situations in life where, that something's going to go wrong. It was it's unplanned. It's out of our control. What are we going to do with it now? You can call it how we react to a situation. You're on a family road trip and you get a flat tire. Okay.
Right.
You're going to teach your kids a lot by how you react.
Right.
Right. So, but now you find in your world when you're on the job, things that go wrong. I mean, my world. Okay. Well, this didn't get delivered on time. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably not going to kill anyone. All right.
Yeah.
Upset people? Sure. In your world, things go wrong. It carries a much greater degree of importance.
It's true.
Especially if you're already off the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because one thing that an airplane will do, it will land.
Eventually, it's going to be back on the ground.
Yeah. It will. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't stay up forever.
Nope. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, but to that end, what was just give us a time where you had to be in control of a situation that you couldn't control.
One of the times where this was the case for me is, so I had just started this new job, relatively new at it, less than a year in. And one of the interesting things about this job that I really enjoy is that it requires me to fly jet aircraft, what we call single pilot.
Okay.
So most people perceive that when you see an airplane with jet engines on it, it's a little more complex, goes faster. There's going to be two pilots.
Absolutely.
Right? Left seat and a right seat. Pilot, co-pilot, captain, first officer, pick your terms, right? Well, the particular airplane that I fly was certified to be single pilot.
Okay.
And so it is designed to be simple. Ergonomics are designed to just the left seat can reach everything, and it's a single pilot airplane. It's designed that way. We don't always fly it that way.
Right.
But
there's two seats up there.
There's two seats up there, two full crew stations, two sets of controls, all that. And sometimes, depending on the customer and what they want, we'll have a second pilot.
Yeah.
But on this particular trip, I was single pilot, and it was, and so that ups the ante right away, because you have to be able to handle what goes wrong by yourself and not depend on someone else who is qualified to check you, to back you up. It's all on you.
Yep.
Honestly, that's what makes it really enjoyable for me, is the challenge of that. But I was taking off. I had a quick trip. It was a pickup in Austin, so it's like maybe I think it's like 40-minute flight if you include all the maneuvering that's required to get into the Austin airspace.
So fast.
Yeah, so it's like coming out of East Texas into Austin, about 40 minutes. And it was at night. There were thunderstorms in the area. So, it's not anything we don't deal with.
You're completely equipped.
Yeah,
the
airplane's equipped to do what it needs to do. So it wasn't like I was scared or anything.
Sure.
It was just, these are things that are eating into the reserve that you have of, I guess I would say, like, safety margin or whatever.
Yes.
We always have a certain safety margin, but then you have like an extra sort of buffer.
Yeah.
That if I'm flying on a calm, clear day.
Right. So
anyways,
one of the leading things talking about here would be fuel.
Yeah. So I have extra fuel, but see, I'm limited on fuel because I have to land in 40 minutes, and the airplane has a landing weight that is significantly lower than its max takeoff weight.
Yep. And see if I get this correctly for people that might be watching it. So, all right, the more fuel you fly with, the more weight you have. The more weight, more thrust you have to have. You burn more fuel to carry more fuel.
Right. But it's not just that; it's also landing
weight.
Yeah.
You have to be below a
threshold before you can land.
All right.
Yeah.
But then you have to land within this tolerance, and there's only so much time where you're going to have to put the plane down.
Yeah. So
and weather can complicate that.
Right.
Jammed up airspace, having to go around.
I put on as much fuel as I could.
Sure.
And part of that is just we get cheaper fuel at home base, so we're always trying to load up with fuel at home base. So I taxi out, and everything's fine. Thunderstorms. We're within we have to wait until they're outside of a certain range. Lightning strikes. Everything was fine. So I take off, and everything's going fine. I'm getting beat up.
Turbulent. Yeah.
But so things are bouncing around. Let it raise the gear. And, it's just, there's a flow. So the, landing gear come up, and then above a certain speed, the flaps come up, except there's still this noise. And it's a very quick level off because there's like air traffic control transitions of airspace. And so in the handoff from our local control to like the bigger facility, they will often have us level to keep us below the bigger facility's airspace until the handoff happens. So it's like, the airplane climbs really fast. So I've got a single pilot, right? So I've got a lot going on, and I'm leveling the airplane off, right? While all these things are reconfiguring. It's totally normal. It's just the way it works.
It's an intense process.
Yeah. So there's just lots of things happening. Then I notice there's still this noise. I'm like, what is that noise? And I look down, and the gear is still down.
Now the
handle's up.
Yeah. So you have told it.
I still have 3 green, right?
Oh.
So obviously that's an issue with there's a speed limitation. So right away I just grab a whole bundle of throttle.
Can't fly too fast.
Right. So I got the throttle back,
Yeah.
keep it below that speed. Okay. So that's like, got to remember that. And then it's like cycle the gear. Okay. Gear handle down, gear handle up. Didn't come up. Now I'm coming back to the airport.
Yep.
And I feel like I've got things pretty much in hand. And I'm back in that place of sort of, I think, where we often get, where there's a level of comfort with what's going on, right? Getting the airplane configured, gear's still down, speed's on, autopilot's on, everything's fine, got the checklist done, burned off all the extra fuel, went out and flew around a little bit, burned off the fuel, so I'm not overweight.
At a much slower speed.
Yeah, so I'm not overweight. And I go to put the flaps back out because they help us fly slower, so we got to get that out. So I, get below that speed, flaps out, flaps don't come down. So
that is very uncommon to have
multiple failures. Yeah. And so
the whole thing with airplanes is they are meticulously maintained.
Yeah, they are. And there's redundant systems.
Yes.
Like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me here, So now I'm like pulling out the checklist again because that changes our landing speeds and things like that.
Bought this jet on Wish.
So land the airplane. And
with no flaps.
No flaps, so you're landing a lot faster.
Fast, buddy.
Right? So so I come in, land, and it was funny because I was thinking to myself, I wonder how stressed I sounded on the radio. Because I specifically remembered making a snide remark to ATC when the flaps didn't come down, or air traffic control, the tower.
Yeah.
I said, hey,
Did you buzz the tower?
No.
Crap.
But I told them, I was like, hey, now our flaps won't come out, and they're like, are you declaring? And I was like, no, we're just going to land. It's fine. Like, I was trying to be all chill,
Yeah. Kind of just lean into it and stop it.
So I landed and I taxied in and called the boss and we talked. And he's like, hey, man, how are you feeling? And I was like, I'm fine. I really am. I'm fine.
Okay.
And I ended up actually... He said, hey, is the other airplane there? I was like, yeah, it's here. He's like, why don't you pull that one out of the hangar and go get the customer and we'll just stick the other one, And it was interesting to me after that whole night was over. I was like, that's pretty amazing that all of that happened.
Right.
And then I was able to just jump in the other airplane and go get him. I was only 45 minutes late.
Yeah. I've never been able to jump in my other airplane.
Right. Well, I don't own these airplanes.
Well, no. But still.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
yeah, the other airplane.
Just I think we talk about resilience.
Yes,
right? The ability to not spiral into like being out of control.
Yes.
Right? Or the other thing to talk about controlling again, the acceptance of the fact that this situation is now not what I expected.
Yep.
This situation is not beyond my control.
Right.
In the sense of I am trained to handle this.
Right.
But not like letting the fact that, because I think when we get controlling, it's when things are not going as we expected them to.
Yes.
And so instead of taking it's almost like a Zen type approach, like taking a moment to breathe.
Yes.
And then just doing what's necessary, we jump in with both feet and just go gangbusters and try to just grab everything and control it and I have flown with pilots who have that approach in the cockpit and it is not fun.
Right.
Now
that is it's a dramatic story and it's really cool. So which makes
if you're a pilot, it's not that dramatic.
Well, no, so it's not that. Yeah,
the airplane wasn't on fire. Or anything,
my story really sucks, and so I don't know. I mean, compared, so I don't know if I should have gone first. So you can trump me, or if I should, it's good to follow. So
I don't know. I feel like sometimes when we're mixing and everything's going wrong, it's way more stressful than that night, that airplane.
That is true. Things where we're responsible for, but things are still outside of our control.
Yeah.
Jimmy and I are both involved in the live production side of things at our church. Typically not at the same time.
Yeah.
But when I remember I lost my cool. It's been 2-3 months ago, and I've got our executive pastor standing right here when it happened. Really showed my beep to him. But anyway, we had a video that we played, and the audio was just ugh. So, but I'm responsible for what comes out of the speakers. Well,
right.
I wasn't responsible for the video.
Yeah.
Our video people weren't even responsible for that. if I'm remembering the correct
It came
video.
from like an offsite.
Yeah. So it was just this thing, but I'm like, and it's gonna be like, here's our good sounding stuff, and then here's this like, really, and now me, because I'm like, people are gonna think that, what's this guy doing? Why does this one suck? Most people aren't going to think that.
Right.
But I didn't want it to reflect poorly on me. Now, I wanted to control it. I couldn't fix it. There's only so much that EQ is going to do. But not only was I not in control of what happened, I also wasn't in control of myself, so that's bad. Fortunately, that's not actually my story. I was just kind of using that to segue. So and this was a long time ago even. Now, Dean and I were preparing to move. We lived in Dallas for about 10 months.
Yeah, I remember that. You went out there with one wing blown off.
Yeah. And we were going to repair the airplane on the fly.
Yeah.
And then we crashed into the side of them.
Yeah.
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 So it's what we call our wilderness experience. And I don't know if, when, or how we'll share that in totality, but it is quite a story. But I was taking a new job out there. And, of course, that's the land of people are. I'm going to be working, the office that I was working for, I wasn't living there, but it was in South Lake. And that is it's the hoity-toity.
It's a nice area.
Yeah. So anyway. But I'm getting a haircut before we go out there. And I was getting it from the old family barber. And when I say this is a family barber that cut my granddad's hair, that was still actively cutting my dad's hair at the time. We didn't have kids yet. But he was old. And here I'm like, we're going to be moving out here. We're not going to be living here anymore. This guy didn't have a lot of time left. And he has since passed away. But I'm like, I'm going to go get one more haircut from him for old time's sake. I've made better decisions. Again, he's gone now. Family's all gone too, so no one's going to get mad at me for this. But he was old, and he probably should have quit cutting hair before he did. So he's like, all right. He said, now his voice, it had some type of damage or something when he was young.
Yeah.
And he didn't sound like a little boy's voice. It was just off, but it was super squeaky.
Yeah.
And high pitch. And so he asked, what you want the number 3 guard on the sides and clippers on the top or the scissors on the top.
Yeah.
How you said, yep, had the same basic hair format for years.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's been a minute. Okay. And he puts the guard on and he gets ready, turns the clippers on, and now he comes right down the top of my head with that number 3 guard. Now, for reference, that's about what this is right here.
Yeah.
So we went from, and I mean, I can't even grab this.
He shaved your head.
I had a reverse mohawk. Okay.
What was he thinking?
Right. I mean, it was a landing strip in the middle of my hair.
Oh man.
And you kind of saw, and I'm realizing after he's about that far in to the Mo strip that he is now cut in my head, I'm like, oh sweet God, it's done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't wait. Stop. Like that's gonna fix it.
Right.
So he makes the one strip and he goes, and then he realizes what he's done. He goes, well, I messed up. No, yes. And so I'm sitting here running through all the scenarios. I was like, I'm going to go out there. And when I interviewed, I thought I had cool hair. I had 30-year-old dude hair.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But whatever.
At least you have hair.
Yeah, I didn't think about the sensitivity of that. Sorry.
I'm not sensitive about it.
Okay.
I like my baldness.
It's
I'm
my
good.
bad. Well, you wear it well.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Wear it well. So good. Now, so this travesty has just befallen my follicular region here.
Yeah.
Okay. What was I going to do? I was like, I won't need a haircut for a while. And that was the only thing I could do. And we both laughed at it. And I'm like, I'm doing what I wanted to do. I'm getting a haircut from the old guy who doesn't need to be cutting hair anymore. And then I'm going to go out to my job.
My dad was a barber. He never made a mistake like that. I'm just saying.
Nice. Well, he knew when to hang it up. Anyway, I got out to my job. And I'm like, they're not going to say anything. Everything's going to be fine. And the boss was like, whoa, quite the haircut there, huh? And I was like, it's the unintentional pre-summer cut. It's coming back. Don't. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyway, I called my wife and was telling her, hey, this happened, and we still, if we're like in the kitchen and we mess something up, she was doing something with bread the other day. She's really gotten into making sourdough bread.
It's good, by the way.
Yeah. So why couldn't she have made like lettuce wraps
sourdough
or something?
bread
God
would be nice if she could find a way to do that.
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Whiz. So, but you'll hear. I've heard her. She'll go, "Wow," and she'll just, and that's how we know the rest of that is I messed up. So that's kind of become just a catchphrase
awesome.
Between me and her. Yeah, but what are you gonna do? You gonna get mad at the guy, berate him?
Yeah.
Even if it's a complete stranger who should know better and has all of their mental faculties still with them.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
You can't undo that. It has to grow back out. I have. We painted a hallway for a lady, and we painted it the wrong color. We painted it the trim color. If you hadn't been sniffing paint fumes all day, you probably would have known what you were doing. We did all the other bedrooms fine, but for whatever reason, when it came to the wall color, we just said, you know what, we're going to keep putting that oil base right all over all the walls. And they just, it's done now. Okay? Except it was an oil base. Now we got to get latex on top of it, so we had to prime it out to seal it with, kills.
Yeah.
And because latex won't stick to oil.
Right.
Not that you deal with a lot of oil-based paints anymore, but we were still dealing with plenty of them then. So we had to prime it all out.
Stuff stinks, man.
Oh, gosh. It's, forever. But it doesn't go anywhere.
No. Nope.
So, and then we got it, painted with the latex paint and, everything was fine. But what were we going to do?
Right.
I'd go over there and yell at the painter, I'm like, hey, man, you painted up the wrong color. He feels bad. Okay. And how you react to it also kind of sets the tone with the owner. If you get really mad, it all of a sudden it looks like you're not in control of your subcontractors. That's not good. It's like, don't,
Yeah.
If you freak out, then it looks like, you can't put the poop back in the cow.
We need more Ben-isms on this.
They're here. As long as we don't get censored. But you can't.
Yeah.
It's out.
Yeah.
You can clean up and you can move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's better
edit.
to
There is no edit undo.
It's better to stay under control.
Yeah. I hope y'all have enjoyed a little bit about that. And again, any episodes or anything that you have, if you have questions about, and it doesn't just have to be right when it's released, we'll do our best to address those. And maybe we do like a cleanup episode, like a question Q&A episode, and we respond to some of those that anyone has sent in. But contact@theregulaردad.com. We'd love to hear from you. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. That concludes episode 8. We'll see y'all next time.
See you next time.